Everyone's back. What a day so far. What a day. I'm just exhausted. My to-do list is just growing and we're now coming down to the last lecture, the guy that's going to tell us whatever we thought. We got to start it over again and listen to the documents and that. So let me get the title. Thomas is going to do, if you're not familiar with him, he's the creator of the Genealogy Do-Over. And the title of the talk is The Genealogy Do-Over, A Year of Learning from My Mistakes. And to me, Thomas doesn't need any introduction, but let me say a few words about him. Besides, you can see that he's extremely handsome, humorous, knowledgeable, but his specialty is in the use of technology and social media. And that if you don't belong to his site, Genealogy Bargains, Genealogy Do-Over, you need to follow him on Facebook and his blogs. Thomas likes to refer to himself, this is what you get when you get laid off. This is a tech guy that got laid off, reinvented himself, and he's been an asset to the community ever since. Very generous with his advice. He may giggle a little bit at me, but not at anyone else. He's a blogger, he's an educator, an author, social media connector, and I like that, marketer, network builder, and more. Thomas has been in the field for over 25 years. His genealogy related business is called High Definition Genealogy. And what I like about him is his own quote that he said about himself. I'm a lifelong learner with a background in multiple of topics and finally figured out what I do best. I teach, inspire, instigate, and serve as a curator and a go-to guy for concept, nurturing, and inspiration. I believe in success and that we will all succeed when we help each other find success. The one thing that Thomas didn't write that is a philosophy of his is Thomas believes that we're really curators of the facts that we find, that we should share it, that we're only here for a short time and it's something we don't own. Yeah. And it's so true that those of us
we're stewards. We're stewards.
Yes, thank you. That's the best
that's
word.
What it is. You know, if you've ever seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life, you know, when Jimmy Stewart is in his dad's office after he dies, there's a plaque up there that says the only thing you can take with you is that which you've given away. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So without anything else, here's the famous Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Illinois.
Thank you. And thanks, Kim, for moderating. I know it's an unglorified job. I did 250 webinars last year and practically killed me. So I want to say I appreciate your moderating skills. And I'm going to go ahead and switch and share my screen. And what do we have here? There we go. Okay, so we're going to start our slideshow. All right, so we're here for Genealogy Do-Over, a year of learning from my mistakes. I don't know if I'll leave my camera on or not. I don't know if most presenters did or not. It's your proof that my mother was right. She said I have a face that launched 1,000 ships the other way. And but I am originally from New York. I grew up in the Catskill Mountains, and I've been doing genealogy actually for 45 years. I started at age 14. I was staying with my great-grandparents, and this miniseries called Roots came on television, and I was hooked, as were a lot of people. So this is in 1977. I was old school. We're talking microfilm, sound decks, if you remember that. I mean, I'm so old, my genealogy research has a crank on it. And but I've kept up with the technology. And that's why this topic is important. In 2014, I reached a point where I just thought, oh, I'm just doing this over and over. I was in circles. I would follow something that was in my tree, not source, don't know where it came from. And then it would just be a dead end. So I actually, and you're going to think this is really radical, I started over. Crazy. Okay. But before we get started here, I just want to let you know that the handout is copyrighted material, but As Kim said, I'm really generous with it. I believe in the abundance model. I was raised that way. You can't hold on to knowledge with a tight grip. You've got to have your hand up, palm up to accept the next good thing coming your way. So I think this knowledge needs to be shared. I want to show you the handout, if I can find it. There it is. So what I believe, if you're going to honor me with 45 minutes of your time today, you deserve more than just an outline. I believe in actionable genealogy education. You should be able to take this handout tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now, and actually use it. So my email address is here. If you want to email me and ask a question about this topic, please feel free to do so. But stay on the topic. I get 400 to 500 emails a day, and I can't help you find your birth parent, or can't tell you why your family did or didn't have a radio in the 1930 census. And then it goes through here. And also at the end is where the resources are. There should be some links that you can go through. And I forget how many pages this is. Wow, this is a 6-pager. And and all here, everything that you need. So that's what it is about the handout. One other thing that I will tell you is if you belong to a genealogy society that has a newsletter, please have your newsletter editor contact me. I make this handout available in article format for free. I just want them to email me so I can track where it's being used. And I also have about 60 other different articles if they're interested. I know how hard it is to do those newsletters for genealogy societies. So let's get started. This is me. Well, this is not me now. I just turned 59 in December. I'm at the tail end of the baby boomers. But this is the point of frustration that I reached in 2014. I had about 8,000 people on my ancestry tree. Most of my ancestry goes back to New York Dutch, 1645, and Schenectady and Albany. English, Rhode Island, Crandalls, and Austin, 1628. And then on my dad's side, French Huguenot. If you know who they were the Protestants thrown out of Catholic France. And so, and they landed in New Paltz, New York, in fact, about 1685. In fact, my 9th great-grandfather, Hugo Freer, his stone house is still standing, built in 1699 in New Paltz. So I had all of this research I had done starting at age 14, but I wasn't citing sources. I wasn't evaluating evidence. And as an educator, I said to myself, well, Thomas, if you're going to talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk. The other factor is technology. I love this photo because even I, as an IT guy, as the tech guy for my family, I get frustrated. Keeping up with the technology is crazy. There are so many advances, so many programs. What is the right one? What's the right backup device? What's the right scanner? And you don't want to be left out. So all of this, and it was crazy. It was haywire. And I felt no success at all. I was not making any progress. So this is what I did. I started the Genealogy Do-Over. I did it myself for a year. And then I opened it up. It is a 12-month program. I don't want to say 12-step because, our family members think we're obsessed and addicted to genealogy. But I want to make it very clear. This is a restart button. This is not an easy button. There's no easy button in genealogy. You know how tough it is, if you're involved in it. Our family members, they love to see the stuff, but they don't know what's involved. So this is my premise. What if I took everything I had and put it aside? I want to state that again, put it aside. I did not get rid of anything, okay? Don't think that I had a bonfire and I started from scratch. No, I put it aside. I didn't want to have those Post-it notes. I didn't want to have all those scribbles. I didn't want to have that influence of bad information. I wanted to start with me. And that's what I tell a new genealogist. They say, where do I start? I said, you start with you. Start with your information. Start with your personal knowledge of what your parents, your grandparents, okay? So I'm going to walk you through this program. Just so you know, I was in seminary for a year. This is back in the 90s. And and I also grew up Roman Catholic. So I had this whole, 7 deadly sins thing. So this is what I came up with. There's 7 deadly sins of a sloppy genealogist. And boy, was I sloppy. But I see it as a learning opportunity. Okay, so first thing you should know, I do not live a life of regrets, personally and professionally. It doesn't make sense to just wallow in that. Okay, so we're going to move forward. We're going to acknowledge that we did some bad things. And to be honest, a lot of people did. A lot of genealogists in the 70s didn't cite their sources. Okay, so you're not alone. So don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up. So these are the sins. I didn't have a plan for finding my ancestors. And you know, folks, you need to have a plan. You know, we get up, we get on the computer 10 p.m. at night, our puffy slippers, our Baileys and cocoa, and we're going to do some genealogy. 4 hours later, what do we have to show for it? We're following shaky leaves and everything. Keep in mind, companies like Ancestry, they have gamified genealogy. What do I mean by that? They made it fun. You're building trees, you're adding stuff, you're actually building assets for them. So that's just it. So I didn't have a plan. If I want to find more about my great-grandfather, John Ralph Austin, who helped raise me, I want to know his birth date, his birth location. Okay. I'm not going to wait for Ancestry or MyHeritage to feed me those things. I'm going to go with a to-do list, with a list of things I want. I didn't follow standards. Now, what do I mean by this? Twofold. There are standards that professional genealogists follow, but they actually work for us. The Genealogical Proof Standard, GPS. By the way, I won't show it to you, but I have a certificate from Boston University. They have an online program for genealogical research. It's 15 weeks. It's great. And that's where I learned a lot of this stuff. So the Genealogical Proof Standard, which I'll go over, but also my own standards. So 1 month I would maybe cite my sources. The next month I say, oh, why bother? It was inconsistent. I would rename files a certain naming convention. And then the next month, why bother? I'll use whatever name Ancestry gives it. Okay, so that's one of the sins as well. I didn't track my research, and I didn't keep track of what I already had. I tell you, and you've probably done this, I've ordered vital records 2 and 3 times and paid good money for them, because I didn't have a system of tracking that. One of the links that I posted, and I'll post them again at the end, is the genealogy research log, which I give out freely. I am an Excel guy, I'm a spreadsheet guy, I'm a project management guy. Now, when I first came out with that log, I was accused of making work. They said, why would you do this? Why don't you just go to Ancestry and add stuff to your tree and blah, blah, blah. The reason is I'm building a legacy. What if Ancestry gave up the ghost and they said, oh, we're shutting down in 90 days? And please don't start that rumor. Do you have an exit strategy? Do you know how to get everything that you have off of there? That's my theory. If you upload any information, you're responsible for knowing the terms and conditions of that platform and having an exit strategy. I want my research the way I started at age 14. I want it to be agnostic. I don't want it to be any one platform, any proprietary platform. I'm building a legacy, okay? So that's why I do this. So that's one thing. Also, I didn't cite sources. And I didn't know where I got the information. If the last name Austin or MacEntee was in a book, hey, they had to be my people, right? And so the information went in. That's how I built that ugly, ugly tree with a lot of people and shallow roots, okay? So that was it. Don't think that citing sources is only for professionals or for academics. This is my tip. When you cite a source, you're a journalist for genealogy. Basically, who, what, why, when, and where. That's it. You can write a source citation in a minute or less. Doesn't have to be fancy. Doesn't have to be evidence explained. I didn't discriminate between good records and unreliable records. Not evaluating evidence. Give you an example. Oh, it's snowing here in Chicago. Darn it. Sorry. I looked out the window. So let's say I'm trying to prove my great-grandfather's birth date. I was told it was January 31st, 1896 in Lowville, Lewis County, New York. I have his death certificate from 1976, and I have his World War I draft card from 1917, which is the better record. Well, we know through the GPS that the record closest to the event is always better, meaning the draft card. If it's filled out in his own hand, it's better. Well, you can't fill out a death certificate after you're dead. So the draft card is in his hand, it's signed by him. So that's the better one. But so you have to rank everything. So I wasn't doing that. Oh, I didn't keep my paper and digital files organized. Oh, what a mess. Yeah, it became a monster, a paper monster, a data monster. So I've gone mostly paperless. But my theory is when you pull up a folder, everything should be named so you know what's in that file before you click on it. That comes from my years working for law firms. The attorneys always said, when I see a file name, I want to know what's in there. And after a while, when you do that and you rename files, you have more time to look for ancestors, okay? Also, I didn't share my research responsibly with others. So what do I mean by that? Well, Kim had mentioned being a steward. Now what I did is my old tree, it has unsourced in all caps in front of it. I warn other researchers that a lot of the information in there does not have source citations. So I will do that. When I share information, I will let them know. Is there a source citation or not? The other thing is, I used to play this game of quid pro quo. Oh, I'll give you this if you give me that. That doesn't work out, And I used to do that. I would withhold information, and that's really not fair. They're not my ancestors. They're shared with other people. So that's the whole idea of stewardship. This is from Catherine Mansell. I'm going to take some hydration here. Otherwise, I'll sound like B. Arthur from Maud. One of the quotes I have here on my office wall: make it a rule of life never to regret and never to look back. Regret is an appalling waste of energy. You can't build on it. It's only good for wallowing in it. Okay? So I don't want you to beat yourself up. Everyone's done these. I bet every genealogist has made those mistakes. Okay, we've got the altar call. We're going to confess our sins now. We're going to commit to a better way. This is the important stuff. This is the way that you can change the way you research. You can get more out of your research. And let's face it, it's expensive, isn't it? You can go to the library and get Ancestry library, but if you're at home, I'm paying $300 a year for World Explorer. I've got Fold3, newspapers.com. It adds up, and then let's talk about webinars that you pay for, travel, research trips. We're talking a good investment. So you want to get the most out of it. So that's that whole better way. All right. And that's what I found when I was able to put everything aside and not be influenced with the research I had done. So the first thing is, this is what we did. We did this as a group. In 2015, I launched this as a 12-week program. Not enough time. So the feedback was, this has to be a yearly program. Every month has a milestone, which we'll go through at the end. So I took inventory. I looked at what I had. I boxed up most of my physical items and set everything aside. The only thing I kept were original letters, diaries, photographs, anything original. That's what I kept. Everything else went aside. I didn't get rid of it, but I put it aside so it would have been hard to get to, and I wasn't tempted. Digital files, my Family Tree Maker database, all of that. I took all those files, put them in a whole folder. I actually put it on a USB flash drive and locked it in the safe because I didn't want that temptation. Oh, I think I have it over there. No, you're going to start from scratch. Gather your tools to research. This is important. Again, you ever been on a site and it was great, you loved it, and then 3 months later you can't remember where it is, and you spend a half hour looking for it, or you spend a half hour looking for that website that calculates the historical value of money. You should have these in an online toolbox so they're right there at your fingers. That saves you time that you can spend on research. Also, I walked the walk. I started with my own knowledge and I wrote it down. I have my own bio sketch, and then I have a sketch from my mother and my father. And then from that, I went and I talked to relatives to verify it. And I would take notes. And then I would actually go look for documents. I'm very clear about what was a family story and what was actually proven. Set your research goals. Every person I research has about 16 goals on the to-do list. Birth location, birth date, siblings, parents, military, standard. And those are the things that I need to get for each person. And then I start tracking my research on this Excel spreadsheet. I give that out freely. I'll go through the components quickly. I want to make sure that we're on time. But yeah, it was really important. Now, people, this is where they said, oh, this is make work. You know what? If I found 9 documents, records for my great-grandfather's birth date and birth location, one of them didn't have the right date. Now, you can't just take the first record you find and say, okay, that proves it. No, that's not the genealogical proof standard. Okay, that is not what they call a reasonably exhaustive search, and it's IV, not exhausted. Okay, so you have to track. I would track records that didn't prove it and records that did prove it. Okay, and sometimes for a person, I come up with 50 to 100 different line items for records. Interview those family members. If I do have one regret, it's that I didn't interview my great uncle before he passed away in 2015. He designed the Bay Area Rapid Transit, the BART train system in San Francisco, the communication system. Fascinating engineer. And that's my one regret. So if you do have older family members right now, please Zoom. It's the greatest thing. You can record it or some type of recording. So now we have the 7 successful virtues of a reborn genealogist. Okay, this is what I use. This is what I have in place. This is what the group developed as part of the genealogy do-over. Okay, so create a genealogy plan. What are you going to find for someone? Now I'm going to pull up the research log. Let me see where I can find it. I'm going to go here, genealogy templates. And I just updated this, and I did put in the correct link. I apologize for that. Let's see. Okay, so this is it. I'm going to try and move this bar over up here. So it is in Excel. This will import into Numbers, Excel format cleanly. You've got to start here. The components. There is a sample here. I did some research for the Danny DeVito family, believe it or not, and I was allowed to use this. So you see what the information looks like. Then, so there's a blank one for you that you can use. There's a to-do list. And this is things that I look for. Okay, right there. Up here, you can put the person's names, their dates, any story. This one is valuable, folks. Have you ever found a name variation for someone? I track my name variations. I can't store them up here. The name variations are good because that's another search method for me. My name is one. It's sometimes spelled MC, E-N-T-E, M-A-C, and MacEntee, and you name it, and even on official documents. So I want to track that. This is my cheat sheet. Now, I told you about source citations. What I did is I created these templates for the top 40 source citations used for US research. So here, I need to update this, but here, for US Census images off of Ancestry, look at, you've got bracketed language. And I'll show you how this works in action. Evidence evaluation. This is great. Now, this is that whole thing about weighing documents. Is it original or derivative? Is it clear or marginal? Is the information primary or secondary? It's hard to remember all these. So this is why I have it here. It's sort of a crutch, a helper. This one you folks are going to love. This is a list of 320 different types of US record sets that you might consider for doing research. It is pretty amazing. And not everything's going to apply. Like down here, if I had my great-grandfather born in 1896, when I came to the census, well, I can just sort of take these out because he's not going to appear on those. Okay. And actually I can hide those rows like that. So that's why this is really important. This guides me. Have I gotten everything? Also, you're going to laugh at this, but I took the 150 most popular, let's see if I can get this, genealogy terms in English, like ancestor, and I translated them using Google Translate into Dutch, French, German, Italian, Latin, Polish, Russian, Slovak, Spanish. Caution, this is not a substitute for a native speaker. Here's Exhibit A. So I'm going to show you this. Okay, come on, guys. Let's go home. So here, alien. We know what alien is, someone that isn't naturalized. Well, under French, it has extraterrestrial. I had to laugh. Sometimes I think some of my ancestors came out of a spaceship. But keep in mind, this is not a substitute, but this offers you terms that you can use for searching and things like that. So that's basically all it is. So it's got all those components. I'm actually going to use one for my great-grandfather. Okay, so let's get back to our, so that's the genealogy plan. Okay, embrace the genealogical proof standard. This is developed by the Board for Certification of Genealogists. It's not just for professionals. Did you know that only 19% of professional genealogists have some type of accreditation, some type of certification? You think that, the belief is that, oh, if you're a professional, you have, a CG. Not true. They have a great website, and I should update my graphic. It's free. And so right here, oh, yeah, I agree. Right here, it goes through the genealogy standards. The book is amazing. It's available on on Amazon. And these are the standards. It's basically 5 points. You do a reasonably exhaustive research. So it means you don't take the first document and say, I've proven it. You want complete and accurate source citations. These are not done to impress your genealogy friends. They help you. They remind you where you found this, when you found this. Thorough analysis and correlation. You have to look at that document and say, does it fit? Does that piece of the puzzle fit? Resolution of conflicting evidence. If I have one birth record and the date is wrong, why is it wrong? Was it an enumerator that maybe misheard something? Was it an index and someone transcribed it off the vital record? And then you do a written conclusion. Now, it doesn't have to be War and Peace. So for my great-grandfather, basically I said, John Ralph Austin was born on January 31st, 1896 in Lowville, Lewis County, New York, as proven by, and I said the World War I drafter. That's his earliest record that can prove his birth. That's all it is, folks. Very simple. All right. It's not very complicated, but that's really important. These resources are here. I have them in the resource list on the handout. A research log. Now, I'm going to laugh at this. Take some hydration. In the, I think in the 2000s, this is what the Family History Librarian in Salt Lake City had. These were pads. You could rip this off and fill it out, but it's the same thing we do today. What date did you start researching? Place of research. What were you looking for? Call number. This is when we had microfilms and books. The source, the document number, and what the results are. That's basically what it is. Okay, that's what it is. Now I'm going to do this, and bear with me. I'm going to close that. I'll go here. So look at this. This is the to-do list for my great-grandfather. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this yellow here. You're going to say, what's up with the colors, Thomas? Well, in project management, we usually use a traffic light scenario. Okay, red, yellow, green. Green is good. Green is complete. Green is go. And these are the things that I have proven so far. Yellow are things that I still have left to do. And anything red, there's nothing red here, but it could be something that I wasn't able to find. You know why this is important, folks? I may not research my great-grandfather for another 2 months. I leave this, I save it, I come back, I know where I left off. You know, how much time do you spend saying, oh, where did I leave off on this one? Okay, I know where I am, and I can add more stuff. So that's the important part. And then I have my research log. So let's do this. Let's say we're going to do the first document. Today is the 2nd, okay, of April. What am I trying to prove? Let's do it this way. I'm trying to prove his birth date, okay? And this is the way that I research when I was doing court cases, doing professional research. Because, you know, when I went to court and the judge said, you know, where's your information? I couldn't say, go to the ancestry trees. That's not how it works. So I want to prove his birth date. So I found this record. This is one of the first records I found, okay? So I will also tell you I'm the laziest genealogist you'll ever meet. So on the research log, it says, what is the record name? Well, this is what I do. Highlight, right click, copy, go to Excel. Now here's the tip. Here's a trick for Excel. Have you ever tried to paste something from the internet? And no, maybe yes, it's crazy. This is my tip. If you double click inside the cell and paste it, Viola, there it is. It strips out all of that HTML formatting, sort of like doing a paste special. Okay, so that's it. Here's a trick question. What is the repository for the World War I draft cards? It is not Ancestry. Ancestry is a relay system. So what you do is you go to the record and you go here to the source and, oh, it is the National Archives and Records Administration. See, if you were to go and look this up in person, that basically is where these are stored. They are on microfilm, but that's where it's stored. Ancestry is simply a relay system. That's how you found it, and you were able to access it. Again, double click and paste in Biola. What type of record? I'm going to say military. You know, a lot of people think this is make work. You know what? I can sort out all my census records military because it's a spreadsheet. So I think that's important. Source citation. We'll come back. I promise it's easy. Transcript. Oh my gosh. The bane of, I just hate doing this. But here is an easy way. And again, I am the laziest and cheapest genealogist you'll ever find. So I go to right here to the detail. Well, look at this. Highlight this, right click, copy. Go to Excel, double click, paste. There it is. It's not pretty, it's not complete, but you know, it's like hamburger helper for transcript extract. It's a start, okay? And it's right there. Now, these 4 fields we'll come back to. This is our evidence evaluation. We'll cover this. This is where we look at the document and evaluate it. And then we can weigh it against the other documents that prove or disprove the birth date. So basically, did it prove it? We'll come to that. So, well, why don't we do it now? So the source type, you have original or derivative. I am strict. If I didn't touch the original World War I draft card, I worked with a derivative. And I think that's important. Oh, sorry. A lot of people say, even I think derivatives, I'm still hooked on phonics today. Elizabeth Schoen Mills will say, well, you know, an image from Ancestry is basically an original. I have had scans like you wouldn't believe. I had one census where the microfilm person was eating lunch and put their sandwich in the corner. Guess whose ancestor was under that? You've seen bad scans. So no, I'm always going to call them derivatives. That's what they are. Okay, so the clarity. Now, if you don't know the difference, remember, we have our little crutch down here. Okay, so it's original or derivative. Clarity is right here. It's either clear or marginal. Can we read it? Well, you know what? We made a big mistake, folks. We didn't look at the image. This is really the first thing you should do, and follow me. The first thing you should do is look at it. Now, it doesn't say Austin here very clear, but I think for the most part, it does it. I want you to promise me that you're going to save the image on any platform you find and save it to your computer. Don't save it to your tree. And here's the reason why. It's going to download it with a funny name. Did you know that many of the databases on Ancestry and Family Search have a limited license? Now, the National Archives records are not going to go away, but here's an example. Here in Illinois, in Cook County, Chicago, we had free access to birth, marriage, and death records, index, and images on Family Search, and also on Ancestry through a subscription. One July 1st, we wake up and poof, they're gone. All we have is the index. Cook County did not renew the license. They decided to monetize those images on their own website at $15 a pop. If you hadn't downloaded them, then you were basically out of luck and you had to spend a lot of money. Okay, that's really important. Okay, so then I go here and I go to the folder location, probably in my here. So it's here. That's a funny name. I'm going to copy, I'm going to cut this. I'm going to go over to my genealogy folder, go over to my record images, and I'm going to paste it. Now, this number means nothing, folks. But what if I had this naming system? This is for Ralph Austin. His surname is Austin. I'm going to do it in all caps. It was John Ralph was his real name. And I'm going to say B1896. That's his birth year. I have names that are reused over and over. Alfred Austin, my grandfather, B1916. His son was B1947. I can tell which generation this is. Then I come up with a name. Remember, we're no longer in the days of DOS with 8 characters, okay? I would say you have up to about 100 characters in Windows 10. So I'm going to say a US World War I draft reg card And then I look at the date on it, and I know what the date is. It's 1917, June 5th. That's what that number means, okay? I'm not going to spell out June. That's what I want. This is my naming convention. I can tell right away what this is. And if some of them are, I think the World War II one, World War II is front and back, you would say that. See, that's it. Oh yeah, I hate you too. I already have something named that, okay? But that's what you do. Look at all these names. I can tell. My mother's marriage announcement is right here. And here, it's practically, I've written the source citation. And please do this right away. As soon as you download that image, do it. Don't get lazy. Say, yeah, I'll do it later. It's going to pay off. Okay. So that's part of it. That's one thing that we forgot to do. Okay. So where were we? Here we are. Okay. So is it clear? Yeah, it's pretty clear. The information, is it primary or secondary? What's the difference? Well, here it is. Primary is a piece of information recorded by a knowledgeable eyewitness or a participant in that event. John Ralph Austin filled out that form in his own handwriting and he signed it. Okay, that's primary. That's better. Secondary is like a death certificate. Usually it's an informant. How many times have you seen wrong information on a death certificate? The maiden name for the mother who passed away is the same as her maiden name because the son didn't know it. Okay, so that's secondary. Also, censuses, population schedules are secondary because they're coming through an enumerator, or maybe it's a son or daughter who's the informant. Okay, so we're going to say that this, come on, guys, we're going to say that this is primary right here. And then finally, what type of evidence is it? Well, it's either direct or indirect. This is the easiest way to remember. Direct is when the fact is explicitly stated. And look at this. There is a birth date, 31 January 1896. Indirect is this. You ever say, well, if for the 1920 census, he's listed as a certain age. So you take the age in 1920 and you back engineer it to come up with an estimated birth year. You've seen a tombstone, right? Those tombstones that say, so-and-so died on this date, age 78 years, 5 months, and 3 days. You're like, great, I have to do math. I don't do math. I go with what Barbie says. Math is hard, let's go shopping. But the thing is, you have to calculate it and back engineer to get a birth date. Anytime you need to do that, that's indirect information. Now, it doesn't mean it's bad, but sometimes indirect information is, evidence is all we have. See, I keep switching them. So this is direct. So basically, I got clear, primary, direct. These are 3 out of 4 is pretty good. You're almost always going to have derivatives. So did I prove it? I think I did prove it. And I'm going to say this. This is my proof. Remember that little proof statement. The birth date for John Ralph Austin is 31 January 1896 as listed on the U.S. World War I draft registration card. Dated 6 June. No, 5 June. 5 June 1917. That's it. That's my proof. I might want to put my image name here. Okay. You don't have to. This is worth the price of admission. You ever found a record at 3 in the morning? You know, you're on a bender, you're researching all night, and the next morning you can't find it? Watch. So I have the record here. I don't want the image. I want this part. This part right here. Right here. Okay. So here's my trick. And also I'll share something from you. You ever get these really long URLs? Here's my trick. When you get to the question mark, usually you don't need anything here. This is all tracking for them. One way to find out is get rid of it and then hit enter, and Viola, it still works. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to copy this URL. And if I wanted to, I could put it right here, or I can do this. Watch. I'm going to type the word link. It's a placeholder. I'm going to go back on top of it. I'm going to right click and say link. And down here, I post the URL. And there it is. It's always going to be there. Now you're going to say, well, what if Ancestry changes the URL? They don't do it as much as they used to. You can do this for anything. This makes it easy. I can go and get that without having to do a search or look at my tree. And then over here, these are the notes. So look at my completed one right here. See, I've got all of this. The red ones are indirect or did not prove it. Okay, I do have notes. This is where I talk to my ancestors. This might seem time consuming, folks. This might seem tedious, but you know what? So what if I have 9 records? Well, I will pick the one that best represents that birth date, and then it goes into Family Tree Maker. So this is sort of, the research log is like a playground, sandbox. That's what we call it in programming. Sandbox is a staging area. Now, source citations, not as bad as you think. How would you cite this document? Well, I have an easy way. Right here, we want that source citation. Go down here, go down to citation formats. Here's census. Was it census? No, it's World War I draft cards. Take this, copy it, go over to your research log, paste it, and Viola, there it is. All I have to do is fill in the bracketed language. Easy peasy, right? It gives you a structure. There's no way I'm going to remember this. I mean, I do have evidence explained, all 600 pages, but I can't remember this. So basically, what I'm trying to do is streamline it and cut down on the amount of time you're looking for stuff. It's right there. I use World War I draft cards all the time. Okay, so pretty easy. So there's no excuse for not having a source citation. If you don't have a format, remember, what is the name of the document? When did you find it? Where did you find it, even online? And then basically the locator. So if someone else went to look for that document, what line number would John Ralph Austin be on? And what would the serial number of the World War I draft card be? That's all. That's all it is. Evidence evaluation. This is the old look of the website. Did you know that Elizabeth Shown Mills has a free evidence explained website? Yes, you can sign up. It's free. There are forums. And she has these lessons, quick lessons. Great. This is the one that I referenced in the handout. This is a map of, if something is original or derivative. Information, primary or secondary. Evidence, direct or indirect. It's the same thing I went through. Okay, you can print this out and put it on the wall. It helps. This is the stuff I learned at Boston University. You can learn at like any of the institutes that you go to for genealogy. This is important because if you're going to treat every document the same, you're really not following the GPS. You're really not proving that point. Excuse me. So we already went over this. But yeah, this is really important. Okay. And so bookmark that site. You have the URL there. And yeah, I have the book as well. And to do that, really important. Let's see. Another part of this is we had to capture and organize our content. You saw how I named my files, okay? And I'm consistent. But also, what about organizing it? What if I want to color code stuff? What if I want binders? I'm going to recommend this group on Facebook. I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook. I told my family, if you invite me to play Farm Bill, I will come and burn down your crops. But this is a good thing. This is the Organized Genealogist run by Cindy Engel from Cindy's List, Dear Myrtle, and a few others, 41,000 members. This is a safe place where you can ask questions about organizing. So 2 things I want to point out. There's a files section. Well, you have to join. So you have to fill out 3 questions. Keeps out the spammers. I'm going to go to files and see what people have. They have all these things that they've uploaded. But the best thing is every group has a search engine. I can come in here and say, oh, I want to learn about color coding. And all the old posts are here about color coding. If you want to do that, there are different systems. Okay. So there are a lot of free webinars. So basically, this is a community effort of sharing information, collaboration. So definitely join this group. And yeah, it will get you better organized. My biggest fear is I'm going to get hit by a bus. My family's going to just take all my genealogy and throw it out or have a bonfire, and don't laugh. So I have it all organized. I've already started to donate it to some places. I love this photo. A little gopher friend does not want to share obviously the peanut or whatever with his bird friends, but share your family history finds. I'm all over social media. I've got Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. My family says I need a Pintervention. But you know what? I share that information out there because I know someone has that same ancestor or someone wants to learn how I did something. Okay. And again, share freely. You're a steward for this information. And don't do the quid pro quo. Oh, I'll give you this if you give me that. I never try and burn a bridge in a genealogical research relationship. You never know what that person is sitting on. An example, I found a third cousin on my Hindenburg side through DNA Ancestry last year. He has 200 photos of Hindenburgs that I never saw. You know, I could have just said, I won't follow up on that. You know, so that's why it's important. Okay, let's move forward and I'll take your questions in a minute. So what about if you want to do this? The other thing I want to tell you, there's something called a go-over. A few of my followers came up with this. They didn't want to do a do-over. They wanted to start a review of what they have. So they started with themselves on whatever platform, WikiTree, MyHeritage, and they worked through it slowly. They made sure everything had a source citation, that everything had been, the evidence had been evaluated, that there was a proof statement. That's all. But you can do that as well. All right. So yeah, it's not easy to do this. Again, it's a big work, but why do we do this? Why have I been doing genealogy for 45 years? You know, just to stay busy? No, I'm building a legacy to pass on to my 41 first cousins on my mother's side. Okay. But yeah, this is important to me and I want to do it right. These are the milestones if you care to do this. So the first month we set aside a research and we got ready to research. Remember, we established base practices and guidelines. We set our research goals for each person. I did a self-interview of myself, and then I interviewed living family members. We started tracking research on a research log. You don't have to use Excel. I have a friend that uses black and white composition notebooks for her research. God bless her, and it works for her. Conduct your research. Learn about citing sources, and build a research toolbox. You want to see mine? Watch. So you didn't notice here on the browser, I have a set of bookmarks right here. They're just, all it is they're organized. 150 bookmarks that I use on a monthly basis. Why should I have to search Google to find these? Things like census, cemetery and death records. I do a lot of New York research, okay? That's all it is, folks. I'm using Google Chrome and I'm using their bookmark manager. Month 6, we worked on evaluating evidence. We also worked on our online educational options, webinars, institutes, okay? Month 7, we looked at genealogy database software. Things like the master genealogist no longer exist. What is good for Mac users? And so there's also a genealogy and technology group on Facebook you should join. And they go over this. We also talk about, I just taught this morning, digitizing your photos and documents. I'm sitting in a whole big box of photos here. You know, what's the best way? What scanner do you need? What format should you save them in? Then collateral research. Collateral research are all those in-laws, like cousin-in-laws that marry in. You know, there may not be a blood relation, but sometimes they have a clue that will break down a brick wall. Then we looked at our offline education options. If I want to go to Pittsburgh for the Genealogical Research Institute of Pittsburgh in July and August, I better plan now. Okay, so, and there are some very good programs off-site. So, conducting cluster research. Cluster is more like the fan club. Let's say that your German ancestor is in a tenement in New York City. On the census, I'm going to look at every other person that spoke German. They probably knew them. There might be those little clues there. If they worked on the railroad, did they work at that place or a cigar factory? It's all those little things. The fan club is friends, associates, and neighbors. It's a term that Elizabeth Show Mills came up with. Basically, their social circle. Then we talked about organizing our research materials, documents, and photos. Month 10 is October is Family History Month. We did DNA testing. We also talked about digital research materials and organizing. Month 11, what are your social media options? What's the best way to communicate? Remember, this is how we bring our younger relatives in. They're all over TikTok and Instagram right now. Build a research network, find a research buddy, join a society online, join a Facebook page for maybe German genealogy. Then we also looked at the travel options. November is a good time to plan your summer genealogy travel. And then finally, we talk about sharing research, and please back up your research. I mean, you should have 3 backups. Thursday was World Backup Day. And so it's really important. You know, you're doing this for years, you're investing time and money. Why aren't you backing up that information? Okay, so that's really important there. And then I went through the resources. There's a group that you could join on Facebook that I manage. And it's got 20,000 people. And we basically talk about redoing our genealogy research. Okay. There is the link to the Excel template. And wow, that's it. Q&A. So I thank you for your time, for your commitment, paying attention to this crazy person. This is my email address. Feel free to contact me because the question may not come to you right away. We may not get to all your questions. And so I really appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share, pass the baton back to Kim, and I'll post those links in the chat area again. Kim, what did you think of that?
Oh gosh, I'm just tired and I haven't
I know everyone
it.
says that. Yeah, you know.
I'm trying to be much better. We all can improve, and
that's all it is. It's a journey. No, I don't beat yourself up over it, you know, but my genealogy is in better shape than it was 20 years ago, you know. So, yeah.
I'd like to think mine is better, and I live in fear. My son says if he gets to my stuff before his sister, it all goes into the nearest trash bin.
Start giving it away now. This is what I do. A lot of my old letters, I have Dutch letters from the late 1600s. New York Historical Society has them. You know, I digitize them. I'm happy. On a photograph, I'll scan it and I'll put that copy in the frame. People don't need to know it's a copy. Remember, we're stewards.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be sentimental over a lot of these things. Yeah. Yeah.
So
any questions?
Yes, there's questions. And thanks for putting your stuff in the chat, because we are sending a copy of the chat when we send our survey form out. We're also sending notes on the stuff that we were permitted to record for you to look at. There is a time limit. It's not going to be up forever.
Well, my stuff will be up forever. I gave them, you know, they could have access forever. So, yeah.
And FYI, remember what Thomas said, if any part of his talk, his handouts you like, and your newsletter editor really likes it, reach back to him. Yeah. He's very generous. Yeah. So again, it's a great way to spread the word, get people talking.
Right.
All right.
And you know, I'm all over social media. They say telephone, telegraph, tell Thomas. So yeah.
All right, let's get to those serious questions. Well, first off, there was one in the chat that I wanted to go back to. That.
Sure.
Can you show the steps how you captured that link again?
Yes, I know that's the important part, and that's it, and it's fairly simple. So I'll go through it slowly. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Come over to my here, and let's say we're gonna. There we go. So I'm gonna get rid of this. Okay, so let's say it's blank. The whole idea is I could paste the link here, folks, but it's going to look ugly. So what I want is I want an anchor. So that's first thing I'm going to do is type the word link and hit enter. And that way I have something here. Now, see, I can right click over it and pick link. If you don't have data in there, you can't do that. Then I go out to the web and I want this URL. I don't want it for the image. I want this URL because it gives me all of this information. Okay, I'm going to double click, highlight it, copy it, go back to my spreadsheet or your Word document. And then you hover over it. And when you right click, you have link. An older version of Excel will say hyperlink. Go to link. And right here, there's an address. And you can put a URL and right there. And that's it. And the way you prove it is you hover over it and you see it's right there. I mean, this has really saved me a lot of time, but thanks for asking that question.
And remember, he took it, when he captured the link, he only went up to the question mark.
Yeah, anything from the question mark on is for tracking for the person that put it up. It's all their stats and everything. Facebook the same way. I've seen some Facebook URLs that go on and on as long as a CVS receipt. And the thing is, you go to the question mark and anything to the right of that, you can basically get rid of.
So, okay, so now let's do the questions and answers. Regarding organization and your point about file names should reflect what's in them. Taking that a step further, do you keep multiple digital folders or just house all those files in just a few folders? What is the most efficient?
For me, the computers these days, they index quickly, search quickly. So I have one folder that says record images. I don't have an Austin folder or a Henneberg. The thing is, I don't want to click too many levels. I should not have to click 9 folder levels down to find something. That's a waste of time. So the more modern computers are better in the search and everything. So I have one folder for record images. That's it. I have one folder for research logs, and they're all in there, but they're all named so I know what they are. Yeah. To me, that's more efficient.
So the key is label it correctly.
Right.
In that. Thomas, would you consider Boston University program the best option?
For me, it was. Yeah, it was. They used to have an in-person summer one for like 4 weeks. But I will tell you, this online was 30 hours of homework a week. This was not fluff. This was like doing a master's degree. I mean, this was tough. This is, Dr. Jones developed some of the material, Elizabeth Schoen Mills. I mean, one of our finals for forensic, for the forensic part is they put up a photograph and they said, oh, these are 10 people from Lynn, Massachusetts in 1910. Identify everyone. Well, we knew there was, their costume, their wardrobe was Jewish. There was only one Jewish family with 10 people in the 1910 census for Lynn, Massachusetts. So we started there and it was fascinating. So it is well worth it. It's not cheap. If you belong to NGS or APG, you can get a 10% discount. But yeah, I think it really is great. And it uses the Blackboard system. And I took it in 2010. I was one of the first students and I absolutely loved it. I really did.
Next question, okay, we did the repeat of the link. Okay, the next one. Is there a way to drag the chat box onto another screen for those of us using 2 monitors, so my view is not constantly interrupted by chat pop-ups?
I don't know, but the one thing is, have you shown people how to save the chat? That's important.
Well, we did, but we found that some people can't because.
Or say if they're on a device, I know that. So one thing you might want to do, Kim, is save it and send it out as a text file. Good. I don't know anything about the double monitors and the chat. I don't know the technical part for Zoom.
Because I've been dragging all over. I have 2 monitors. But again, let me state, we will send you a copy of the chat. What we will remove is probably where everybody's saying hello from.
Yeah, exactly.
So that will come with the survey. Please fill out that survey, as well as links to the handouts again. Let's see, which Mac software is best?
I like Herodis. It's let me pull up the URL. Let me share my screen for it. I'm not a Mac person. But most of my Mac users have gotten away from Reunion. They've gotten away from Gramps. And they use this. There it is. It's called Herodis. And I do Herodis Genealogy. It's out of France. And it is a great program from what I understand. So I'll put the link up here. They have a trial version. And I know the developers. And it is really a good program. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat. And here it is. So here it is. See, I'm still hooked on phonics. Genealogy software. They also do have a Windows version as well, but their strong suit is the Mac. So good question. And it's posted in the chat.
Okay. Any concerns about copyrights or other restrictions when considering sharing our research with others online?
No, it depends. Facts cannot be copyrighted. Okay, a fact cannot be copyrighted. But if you write a family story, that is your intellectual property. You don't have to file a copyright. The minute it is in fixed form, it is basically yours. So I was trying to do attribution. I was asked first. Copyright is one of those things you ask first. Don't ask for permission, forgiveness later. And yeah, now if you can't get permission, you are allowed to cite that, that photo or whatever. But yeah, it's I could teach a week on copyright and genealogy. Keep in mind, in the US, the National Archives records are in the public domain, so there's no copyright. In the UK, the Crown owns the vital records. Yes, so you can't necessarily just share them here and there. So it depends on what records. Yeah. On the state level, I'm not sure. I'm not going to assume that every state record is in the public domain.
Probably best answer would be go back to the source and ask.
Exactly, right.
And that, let's see. How do we change the genealogical, first off, standing ovation.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
There.
Yes, yeah.
How do we change the genealogical culture about sharing data beyond being good examples?
Well, yeah, and sharing it, on Family Search, that's the thing I don't like about the collaborative tree. Someone will come in and change something without any source. So that, for me, it's an educational opportunity. So when I talk to someone, and say, you put this data in and there's no proof, and I had a different date and I have all this proof, it doesn't make me a better genealogist. I don't do right and wrong statements. I see it as an education opportunity, and that's all we can do. I mean, the thing is, this is the downside of sites like Ancestry making it a big game. Who needs source citations? Yeah, we'll just throw it on the tree. And you've seen some trees that are just, yeah, they're horrible. They are. But, there's nothing, they call it junk genealogy. I don't like the pejorative term. I think it's basically a lack of education about methodology and the record sets. That's all.
Thomas, any
Yes.
hearsay if anyone's creating the Cook/Chicago Saloon /Tavern license/ownership indexes?
I heard about
outside of
this.
heading to the basement records.
I heard about this and I will check. I think that goes along with what I said earlier. The Illinois State Genealogical Society is building a database of professional licenses. They found the records from 1880s onward on the state level. So I heard that, but I would have to confirm that. It is right now just rumor or hearsay. Yeah.
Good reason to maybe join the genealogy do-over and watch for that answer on that.
Yeah.
All right, another question. How do you flip from one program to another? I see pictures of documents you have open.
Yeah.
How do you get them
So,
on your computer
this is
without
what
going
it
to tab areas?
This is what it is. So I'm going to share my screen and I've got all these programs open. I do hold down the Alt key and hit the tab and you see, you have these and I can just hop to the one. That's all it is. So you keep the Alt key. I'm right dominant, so my left hand, my thumb is on the Alt and I'm hitting tab and I'm working my way through what is open on my screen. And that's it. That's how you do it. Easy peasy.
All right, let's see. Okay, this one's from Dr. Abbott. Thank you for allowing me to use the do-over for the African American Genealogical Society in Cleveland, Ohio. Can you suggest how to get our members to understand that the hard work and organization will make our research easier?
One thing that a lot of societies are doing, they're setting up 6 special interest groups where they will actually, work on Zoom virtually, and they'll use a research log and they'll find a record on Ancestry and they'll work through it. And I think that that's important, that they see it in action and they see that it's not as difficult as they think it is. And you know what, folks? It's just like a recipe card. When you have a recipe that you like, you're going to keep looking back to that card. But after a while, the process, the ingredients, and it goes pretty easy. I am at a point where I only spend 15 minutes max on a document. That's it. Capture the image right away, start to fill out all that information, cite your source, evaluate the evidence, take your notes. And I can go back later on and decide, yeah, it is or isn't the best document for that proof point. But you get it, it becomes a routine. Yeah.
Okay. What would you name a file where the document contains several people?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. So you might want to say Austin family or be descriptive up front. The other thing is, Kim, some people use a date system where they put the date first. Please do not spell out the month like April, because then April, December, November, it doesn't make sense. So I would start with the year, then the month, then the day. But yeah, whatever you do come up with, be consistent. Okay. That's why if you join that organized genealogist group, there's a whole discussion on file naming conventions and what works and what doesn't work. So remember, you have up to 100 characters. So you can be pretty verbose on those. Yeah.
Let's see, question when going to look at templates takes me to an error. Is there another way to get to them? I think I saw someone post it in chat.
Yeah. I do have the correct links in there. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. By Blackboard, do you mean in person?
No, Blackboard is it's an educational online platform. It's sort of like a classroom. You know, it's where you have a teacher assistant, you get assignments, you have discussions. So it's you look up Blackboard software. So
it's like a platform like Zoom is.
In a way, yeah, but there are more components.
Yeah.
It's meant for education.
Yeah.
So
would you recommend the online version of Boston University?
Well, there is only online. I don't know if they've done the in-person. I think for COVID, they stopped doing the 4-week in the summer. Right. There is a 4-week one that you can start with, and then there's a longer one. So I just was very, very happy. I was very happy with the quality of the education, the instructors, the platform, the availability of teacher assistants. But again, it was 30 hours of homework a week. You know, this is not, it's not for, I don't want to say sissies, but it is a major, it's like you're doing a master's degree course.
You have to be committed.
You do. Yeah. Especially with that money, that was a commitment, you know, I'm not going to waste it. So.
Will we be able to get a copy of your research log?
Yeah, I just posted that in the chat. Yeah. And you can alter that like you want. I don't keep a lot of control over that stuff. You know, if you don't like a certain column, take it out. If you don't like a certain worksheet, take it out. I don't care. So,
what do you think of the DNA Academy course through Trace.com?
Trace, I like it a lot. I actually took it. You know, the thing is, even me, you know, science is not my forte, and it was hard to understand. I tested with every company. And so I really like the format of it. And, you know, folks, I'm retiring as of May 1st. I know, don't panic. The rumors of my demise are greatly exaggerated. No, I'm moving away from webinars. I think the concept of the 50-minute webinar with 10-minute Q&A is kind of stale. I'm doing these prepackaged courses like Teachable, where you watch a video, do an assignment. We meet 1 hour a week on Facebook, and some will be free and some will be paid. So that's what I'm going towards more. And so that's why I'm sort of scaling back. But yeah, I think that, you know, I like the DNA. I went through it actually, and I took it, and I liked it. I understood a lot more than maybe just attending a 50-minute webinar. Yeah.
Okay.
Remember, it's actionable education. That's the important part. That's how we learn.
Why Heredis over RootsWeb?
RootsWeb. No, RootsWeb is not a software.
No, I think they mean Roots Magic, maybe.
Roots Magic, yes, you can do Roots Magic for Mac. I always think of Roots Magic for Windows. I like Roots Magic and Legacy Family Tree. My personal one is Legacy Family Tree for Windows. That's what I use. I got rid of Family Tree Maker when Ancestry sold it. So I bought it on Broderbud software when it first came out.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm dating myself.
Yeah, I know. I remember the 300 baud modem. Yeah. So
does a German doc and its English translation have separate copyrights?
That's a hard one. I really don't know. There is a group on Facebook called German Genealogy Transcriptions. I would join the group and ask there. Yeah. Katie Shorber runs a site called Germanology Unlocked. And if you go there, she might have information. Yeah.
How often do you hit a dead end that turns into be incorrect or falsified names in records?
A lot, especially if I relied on my old stuff. Yeah, but this is why I track that information. I can highlight something in red, you know, and say, hey, this is, I think brick walls are more like speed bumps. They are of our own creation because we don't understand the record set, or we don't understand how to evaluate the evidence. That's it.
For me, some of it becomes, I don't understand the time frame the ancestor lived in.
And so what I do is I go to Family Search Wiki, and they have great articles. They have 100,000 articles that will help you understand that record set, why it was created.
I recognize the risk of putting info onto one platform, but just curious how you feel about the myheritage.com platform.
I like MyHeritage. You know what I like is I like all their tools. I use the photo tools. They have a great city directory database because this is what you can do. I looked up my grandfather in Newburgh, New York, and then there's a button that says, see who else lived at this address. That's crazy. It's fan club. I can see who lived at that address before them and after them, so they do things a little bit differently, the way they index. And they use a lot more innovative technology, So yeah, I just like MyHeritage a lot. It's also half the price of Ancestry. They don't have as many records, but I'm able to do most of my research on MyHeritage. The community is great though. If you have European research like I do, I can connect with German MyHeritage users and they'll go and get me a document. I mean, God bless them, So that's why if you do have any European research, MyHeritage, the community is really important. Yeah. Listen, I got to go soon. I got a dinner appointment downtown in Chicago.
Oh, wow. Lucky you.
Yeah,
Let
I
me
know.
look to see if there is one more question that has to be, and I see you kind of covered everything else that's left. So again.
But email me, please. Don't be a stranger. You're not bugging me if you email me, because you know what happens, Kim, is I learn, and then that goes into the lecture. That gives me information to build new educational materials when you ask questions.
And join Thomas's Genealogy Do-Over.
Yeah.
Because they're great at giving advice.
Yes.
Including Thomas
Yeah.
will answer you.
Yeah.
And that. So Thomas, we'll let you go.
Thank you for this opportunity. This was great.
Thank you.
Really great.
And again, FYI, Thomas is really good to work with society newsletter editors. So if you're thinking, hey,
and I've got 60 other articles, 60 other articles. So yeah.
Please reach out to him.